Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to the top 10 games of 2024. Yes, I'm leaving this to the last day so there can't quite possibly be released any more games that I haven't played. Well, there's plenty of games that I haven't played. 2024, I've heard a lot of people saying that it's a strong year, just like any other year. The hobby is getting better and it's another very strong year. Personally, I don't think so. It's just, even in 22 and 23 also, although I didn't play many games from there, I could mention many more games that I really wanted to play, that sounded really interesting. In 24 I can't really do that. Besides this 10 that I have here, maybe I can mention 2 more that I want to play, but that I haven't played. Maybe. Like, I feel like it's a weaker year, but it's what it is. But I still do have a top 10 games, and let's get into it with number 10. So number 10 is one of which I thought was cooperative, competitive, but it turned out to be cooperative, so I played it more at solo, and it did not impress me very much. I also had the expansion here at 10. It is Ecosphere, or Ecosphere. I'm not quite sure that SF thing, if it's Sphera or Fira or what it is, but this is a cooperative, or of course I played a solo game where you try to save the planet. So you have 6 sort of areas: the Arctic, Africa, and that, I believe it's based on the continents mostly, but also like woodland areas and stuff, which you need to try and get back up and running by doing deck building. So you get a bunch of cards that is plants, and then through the plants you try and get the animals, and through the animals you can get these ecosystems up and running and to be lovely. And it's fine, but I have tried to play through, and it's very difficult to not just have a deck this size when you play solo. Maybe it's easier when you're more, but then you will definitely just lose because you have to then get those. So yeah, it is one of those games where the way you made it cooperative makes it annoying, but it is fine. Again, I like the theme, of course, this thing with planet, saving the planet. The artwork is very interesting, using sort of triangular. I don't know what the artwork is called, but I've seen it before, and it can be used very beautifully, and it is used very beautifully in this game. So yeah, it's a decent number 10. So, number 9. I'm trying to do it like that because inspired by Eric Sommerer, but I don't have as beautiful a voice. This one is probably going to be one of those that is number 9 and 8 is going to be talked about, because according to Board Game Geek there are 24 releases, but it was backed on a Kickstarter and arrived in 24, and you can do other games on Kickstarter. I count them as 24 releases. Itaria Septichroma. So this is a 2-player dual game where you're trying to fight for this forest, which is part of Itaria, which is a world that is not quite generic fantasy, but not really there either. Like, the theme doesn't matter for this game. But yeah, you are fighting over this forest. One has the color black, one has the color white, and you're trying to establish your dominance by getting 4 in a row, or groupings of these different colors. And there's some modules they can make, you know, scoring points or using abilities. And it is quite interesting as a 2-player game, fighting over this little forest area here. But it comes in at number 9 because it is decently forgettable. Like, before this I had to read up on the rules to quite remember it. But it is a good game. It's an enjoyable game, a short game for a weeknight game. Number 8 is another one in this line from Italia. This company is only going to make games in this universe, they say. And then they release the train game, and it's like, okay, clearly this theme does not matter, this world does not matter. Itaria Elvan Relics. This is a multiplayer game where if you play less than 3 players, you need to use a goddamn bot. We tried playing it without the bot, and it works fine. It's fine. It's interesting enough in that you are trying to play down some cards which has a color to them, which is blue, purple, yellow, or red. And you want to play these down because on another track over here, which you place down some figures where one figure moves to the other figure, some of them have colors on your dice, and the dice match those colors: red, white, blue, and gray. And they can change it. So maybe it says your blue die now becomes a 5, Then you change your blue die to 5, or maybe it's, you know, a 2 dice that's at number 2 becomes a 6. So maybe you've made your red a 2, so you can make it a 6. And then after that you score points based on, so let's say I had that red 6 and a blue 5 after round 1, and I had 2 reds and 1 blue, I would score 6 points for each of the reds, so 12, and then 5 points for the blue 1, meaning 17 points for this first round. And then you would move on, every round having 4 steps where you either can play down a card and place one of your figures. And then after 4 rounds it all ends, with each round having like a specific ability that you can activate, that you activate at some point, trying to utilize that. But it's very interesting, this thing of moving over these ones, trying to figure out where you want to place them. Also when you play a red card, of course your red die becomes 1 less. So trying to manipulate that around and doing it correctly, because you can't change the order, right? If you make the blue a 5 here and the blue a 2 here, you can't switch that around. So you gotta be like, okay, do I want to move that extra step? Because maybe right after it there's something red becomes a 5, so is that worth it? I thought it was quite interesting, just this, of like, first you play a card and you place out a figure, and then, you know, you have the scoring at the end of each one, and then at the end of course there's some extra scoring, but it's pretty interesting. I just feel like it was over before it started. Like after the first round we were quite even, but after the second round I was ahead. It's interesting enough, and I think it could be quite a lot more interesting at more players as well. So I actually like Itaria, Elvan, relics more than I like Septicron. But this is, again, I'm putting them here because 1, they're better than Ecosphere, but 2, are they from, maybe it's just the English version that's the 24 release, and the other ones are 23 release, maybe even 22 actually. But I believe they came out this year, I don't care. Number 7 is a reprint, I guess you could say it. It's a Redux version of an older game that I actually like. It's a card drafting game that I actually like. We played a lot. The second version we haven't really played a lot yet. It is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux version. This Redux version that came out this year made Shipwrights of the North Sea a bit more complicated, and I still prefer the other one. I will do like a comparison, I think. But it's a fun game. It has some interesting score mechanisms, and it's just too short. You have 5 rounds and you aren't going to do a lot in those 5 rounds. It's just too short. That's my real, honestly, like, if it wasn't that short, if it was longer, if it was 10 rounds, twice the length, right? It would not take twice the amount of time. It would probably higher, because it is so short you can't really do a lot. And don't get me started on the solo mode. I'm just gonna say it right now. The solo mode for Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux is shit. The bot thing scores like 10 points every round. You'll be lucky if you score like 8 every round. It's shit. I'm just saying that now, right now. I hate that. Hate it completely. Like, I'm already against solo modes. That is shit. But it's a still fun game. It takes on the sort of the gameplay of Shipwrights of the North Sea, how you can use the cards, and it just upgrades it. And you have more tracks to keep track of, to go up, so you can score points based on that. It is just the thing where you've made it more complicated and shorter, meaning don't get to do much. If they hadn't done that, it would definitely be higher. I would probably love it way more than regular Shipwrights. But because of that, it's number 7. Number 6 is a game that I didn't actually want to get. This is Itaria is the same. This is the first game my wife got through Kickstarter, and getting her into this hobby a lot. It is called Coney, and it is about, you have a bunch of rabbits and you're trying to make a little rabbit place where they score points based on being next to some or not next to some, maybe. Just in the grid with some score points, and you're trying to make this little den of rabbits. I believe it's based on a game that's called Hens, where it is hens and not rabbits. I believe, I'm not 100% sure on that one. But it's interesting enough. I got 3 different resources, which the component quality of those resources is way better than it has any right to be for this. I know it's a Kickstarter game, but it's such a simple, cheap Kickstarter game. Those little resources are really, really cool. And card quality is great, and artwork looks amazing. It's a 6. It's a 6 because it's like a lot of other games with these resources, buying cards, and they score points next to this one, and the same grid as these ones. So it's not super original, that's why I'm putting it a bit lower. But I actually really like this game. It's a short little sweet game with rabbits in it, with cute little rabbits. It's actually a really great game. I love the fact that my wife got it. At number 5, over halfway through now, we get into someone which I thought was made by Danish guys, but it wasn't, and it's a bit of a weird one. Aqua Biodiversity in the Ocean. I thought this was made by the same guys that made Heat, but it isn't according to the box. But whatever. It is. I can describe it as being a bit like Cascadia. You have these not rectangular. No, it's what is it? Hexagonal shapes. That's what it's called. That you place down. This is forming an ocean floor. You can make some reefs, or you can make areas where fish can go into. Right? If you make a purple area, you get the purple fish. Although I believe the purple one isn't a fish, but a gobble. We would call it a vendman, waterman in Danish. You place those down, and if you get a specific I want to say fashion, but that's not the word for it. But if you make one like this, you get a specific larger fish, a predator, you can almost say. And you of course score points based on having those, and having the big fish, the smaller fish, having some reefs around it, and then all of them score a little bit specifically. Like some of the small fish want to be in the same areas as some of the large fish, who score more points based on that. And it is fine, a lot like Cascadia. It's mostly the scoring that's the tricky part, the interesting part to work with, and it's fine. I like it. Going in it. It sounds like I don't like it. I do like it. It's enjoyable to play. I think the snail mechanic in it is stupid. But other than that, it's perfectly fine. It can be frustrating never getting the colors that you needed, of course. But yeah, the things that maybe pull it down is of course the fact that the theme does not matter. But it's a good game. I would recommend to anyone who likes Cascadia as well, because definitely going to like this one as well. So, number 4, and now we're getting into the amazing games, right? These are the great games that are getting 8 out of 10 or higher. These other ones are getting lower than that, yes. As I say, this is the weaker gear. But we're starting off this top 4 here, just outside the bronze, you know, getting that almost on the podium. Ticket to Ride Paris. I mean, did you think I wasn't going to mention Ticket to Ride Paris? Of course I was. It's a small city box of Ticket to Ride, which means it's not going to be number 1. It would never be. But Ticket to Ride Paris is still a good version of it. I love the fact that if you collect a red, white and blue flag card, you get some points based on it, because it's the freaking French flag. I love that. That's just ridiculous, funny little thing, and you can almost play it in all the other versions, being like, okay, if you get the colors of the flag, you get some extra points. So it is a great addition to my Ticket to Ride collection. Ticket to Ride Paris, number 4 there. Number 3. This is a deck building game, and it's Unstable Games release from this year, Command of Nature. And what Unstable Games do really well, I think, is introduce you to some mechanics within the board gaming world. Like if you want to have some certain mechanics, you could definitely check out some of the Unstable Games games. Not all of them, of course, but this is a great introduction to deck building. It's simple to understand. You aren't gonna get a massive deck, but you are going to get that enough of like, yo, if I get this card and this card, maybe I can make a combo. It's easy enough to understand like that. So it's a great introduction to deck building, which is a really cool mechanic when the game is all about deck building, right? Dominion, for example. I know I've digged a little bit upon deck building in the past, but a game like this, I've gotten to play Dominion, my accounts of the West Kingdom. I'm definitely deck building is something that's growing on me as a mechanic within the games. So yeah, and Command of Nature is this introduction to it, right? Simple version of it. But in the end it is also a game about defeating your opponent, attacking them. But you do that by building a great deck. So if you're looking for introduction to deck building, I would recommend Command of Nature. I really like this game. Great game, number 3 from 2024. Number 2. The second best game from this year is another one that is with hexagonal shapes, where the theme maybe doesn't matter that much, but still, you know, I like this game a lot. It is drafting, and you're building out these areas, which is difficult to explain when you say like Aqua, it's a good game, it's a fine game, I like it. And then you say spectacular, love it. An amazing game. It's difficult to explain, but spectacular just does something for me that Aqua and Cascadia didn't. And I think it's this thing with where it's a lot easier to collect the colors, right? The hexagonal shape is one color. In Cascadia and Aqua it isn't. And I think that makes the difference. It is just 4 basic full color ones with a more basic way of scoring, where you can really filter into with this drafting mechanic, where you place them in and trying to create areas. This is my gray area, this is my blue area, my green area, which also fits the animals and where these animals live. Like you pulling in the theme, sort of like that, and then adding in these dice, which needs to have certain shapes, to numbers to score decently well on the different areas. It's such a great, it's a really good game. Really love it. Again, the drafting aspect is amazing to me. I love drafting, and this way it does it with moving these over, and you take one thing, but you want those 3 dice and those 2 tiles, but I can only take one of them. And in a 4-player game, one of them, maybe I will lucky some of them return to me, so I can draft it a second time. In 2-player game, it's more back and forth, but you are also going to score lower, I think. Or higher, it's a bit weird, but it's so great. I love it. Really love Spectacular. We've played it a couple times. I know some other people like to play it with me, so that's awesome. So that was my number 2. Now, number 1. I've already talked about it this month. I did a review of it. It is the Lord of the Rings theme. You can guess based on that one. You've probably already guessed. It is Lord of the Rings Jewel for Middle-earth. And I played Seven Wonders Jewel a few years back. Not quite when it released, years after that, but a few years back I played it for the first time against my wife, and I played against a buddy of mine who likes Seven Wonders, and like, hey, let's try it out. Yeah, I can somewhat remember the rules. I think I lost both times, but it was fine. I like Seven Wonders, and Seven Wonders Jewel was a good Jewel version of it. I liked the way you did the drafting, but the scoring of the points annoyed me in the Jewel version more than it did in the regular version, and there's just a few things about it which, like, it's a fine game. When this game came out, I learned Seven Wonders Jewel is like crazy popular. A lot of people really like Seven Wonders Jewel and you see it as the best 2-player game ever. I've heard that a lot. And then Lord of the Rings Jewel for Middle-earth came out, and it was based on Seven Wonders Jewel, but the theme of course interested me a lot more. And getting away with the points and just having like, you need to focus on these 3 areas, you can win. It is amazing. It's been down to the wire. It's been crazy time. It's like this last card. Dang it, you got it. I lost. Such an amazing game. It's so amazing. I raved about it in my review, I think, but I don't think maybe I didn't sell it properly enough to you. I love this game. I can say 2024 was a sort of a weak year for me personally. Outside of this top 4 I just mentioned, I want to fight side of this number, because this is one of the best games ever made, if you ask me. Lord of the Rings Jewel for Middle-earth. So amazing. Bringing in the theme, like it actually managed to bring in the theme with the ring track, with the war track, with the peoples, you know, trying to befriend them, with the location tiles that you're getting, the cards, this amazing artwork. This Lord of the Rings Jewel for Middle-earth is such a great game. It's going to be one of my favorite games of all time. I can't imagine this not being in my top 10 next time I do a top whatever games of all time. Such an amazing game. Lord of the Rings Jewel for Middle-earth. Amazing. Can't say it enough. I freaking love this game. And it's after having a mediocre reaction for the Seven Wonders Jewel, this version just is amazing. I love it. So that is my top 10 games of the year 2024. And this is also the last day of 2024. Of course, I'm gonna upload it the same time I always do, so it's late in the evening when you get this video. Yeah, I hope you have had a great 2024 and have a nice new year, and I will see you tomorrow when we look into 2025. Bye!